Hello all, James here. Now, AEW has currently been on a run of pretty good shows as of recent, and AEW Dynamite is no exception. This is the AEW Dynamite that broadcast yesterday. There was MJF versus Adam Page. The build-up's going really well. Tony Storm did a great promo. Powerhouse Hobbs and Big Bill was a good match. There were other good things on the show as well, including a great crowd in a string of also great crowds as well that AEW have been having recently. But there was one glaringly weird segment on AEW Dynamite yesterday that would occur at the end of the Chris Statlander versus Megan Bayne match. Now, Chris Statlander once again finds herself taking the L while AEW build up Megan Bayne as the new monster heel and heater for Penelope Ford. Megan Bayne, who is billed at 6'1", so she's probably near enough there. And she also looks like a bigger version of Beth Phoenix, really, if you've not seen it. And she was also trained in OVW like Beth. Got the win with an F5 on Statlander after Penelope Ford interfered. Now, then, of course, Penelope Ford lays in some forearms post-match onto the downed Statlander until the odds are evened up when Thunder Rosa runs into the ring with a steel chair in hand. And thus begins maybe the worst run-in in AEW history, and I will explain why. Thunder Rosa gets into the ring and threatens to hit Ford and Bayne with the chair. All standard stuff, and the expectations are that the heels will flee to fight another day. But instead of cowering or leaving the ring, Thunder Rosa's opponents stand there and laugh in her face. And in fact, the minuscule Penelope Ford actually stands in front of the towering Megan Bayne while taunting Thunder Rosa for a short while. It's seemingly minutes this goes on, but the entire segment was like less than a minute. But for a visual disconnect, it looked like Officer Hooks standing in front of Hightower. That's how weird it looked. Now, Thunder Rosa is now looking confused as what to do. Eventually, she rears back with the chair, and then like a third swings or a quarter swings the chair to sort of get the heels to like flinch or, move out of the ring or just move out of the way, or you just feel threatened in some way. So therefore, when they don't do that, Thunder, who obviously doesn't want to hurt anyone in real life, freezes mid-swing and then just starts arguing with them some more instead. It's really awkward and really clunky. But then the situation gets even more bizarre as Penelope Ford then just sort of walks towards Thunder and then grabs the chair out of her hand, right? And then Megan Bayne just stands there watching, but then doesn't attack. She just stood there just like bearing down and then just smirks instead. The whole segment seems to have not gone to plan whatsoever here, and it's fairly obvious. I mean, Excalibur and Taz are doing their best to cover up for what appears to me as a script-breaking situation, quite frankly. And then finally, the referee walks in to separate Thunder and Megan before Penelope and Megan just kind of just walk away, once again taunting Thunder Rosa on the way out. And then Rosa half-heartedly throws a chair at them on the way out, and then it's on to this next segment. Thunder Rosa has already had, quite frankly, a rough time of it since returning to AEW from injury at the end of 2023. It was like a 16-month layoff as well. She was gone for ages. Now, Rosa has not been the same in the ring since she returned, really, and she's mostly been booked as an afterthought when at one point not too long ago, she was the AEW Women's Champion. And, if you're the main AEW champion, men or women, you lose the belt and then you seem to just like disappear into obscurity or into the mid-card, really. And now Rosa can add one of the most awkward run-ins in wrestling history to her list of recent woes. Now, there are a number of theories as to why Thunder Rosa, the run-in segment, ended up being so clunky, and I'm going to read out off no less than 5 for you here. So, Thunder Rosa and Penelope Ford and Megan Bayne were meant to be separated by the referee much earlier, so nobody had to back down and nobody had to look weak. But the referee had actually, in fact, jumped out of the ring himself. So when Thunder Rosa entered, so I'm not sure I buy that one whatsoever. I don't think the referee was meant to break it up. Then there's Bayne and Ford froze, or totally forgot how they were supposed to act, which I think is unlikely. I'll explain in a bit. Or nobody in the segment had spoken to any of the producers beforehand about what they were supposed to be doing, leading to everyone sort of just winging it and therefore causing the heels to act incorrectly. Now, this is maybe a possibility, but there's going to be more here. So Thunder Rosa was set up by Tony Khan. This is the most out there one. Set up by Tony Khan to be made to look as bad as possible. And there's a theory floating out there that about a week ago or so, Thunder Rosa gave an interview, I can't remember to who, praising Ricky Stark's recent WWE debut on NXT last week. I'm not sure I buy that one. Weirder things have happened, but I'm not sure I buy that one. But this one I can buy. Penelope Ford and Megan Bayne went into business for themselves. And this, I'm sorry to say, is maybe among the most likely reasons in my opinion. I'll explain why in a minute. But it is possible that despite 20 years of experience between them, neither Megan or Penelope were given proper direction on how to act during the run-in, and then therefore, once again winged it and just did a bad job of it, really. Now, I'm going to put my conspiracy hat on here and say that I don't think this segment came off badly because it was booked badly. But I've done my best to decipher what was being said between the girls, and there was a lot of talking back and forth. But the music and the commentators, and I couldn't really read it either. It's so loud, it's impossible. But if indeed the heels were merely being incompetent and not knowing how to react, I'm sure Thunder Rosa was right there telling them, get out of the ring, or what are you doing, or do this, you're ruining the segment. Yeah, they still didn't, act scared or leave the ring or anything. So that's why I don't think it's just, pure incompetence or, some miscommunication I get, because we're communicating an awful lot right there. So anyway, I think something absolutely went wrong here, but I think it's plausible to suggest that this segment was sandbagged intentionally. Now, I say this because, once again, nobody in the business who's been in the business more than 3 weeks, let alone most fans who are watching this, they'd never react this way on purpose, unless they were doing it on purpose, of course. But once again, Megan, Bayne, Penelope Ford, 20 years experience between them, and the heels didn't look like they'd frozen. They looked like they knew exactly what they were doing. There have been so many reports of an AEW locker room that's fractured over the past 3 years or 2.5 years, so it's not inconceivable that Thunder Rosa has somehow made some enemies, and this was some kind of revenge or some kind of putting in your place thing. Once again, all speculation on my part, but let's look at some of the circumstantial evidence here. Rosa gets super close to the heels right away when she enters the ring. I believe that she is clearly expecting the heels to back off, which I suspect was agreed to beforehand, before everyone went out to the ring. But then when the heels don't, it's Rosa who backs off to create some space. And then Rosa is also the one giving the heels every opportunity to react properly when she raises and then half swings the chair, which of course they don't, further disempowering Rosa here. And also look at the way Megan and Penelope are standing. They're standing like right next to each other, almost like circling each other, or like buddy, shoulder to shoulder. Now, if the heels had any intention of being hit with the chair when Rosa sort of goes for the half swing, they would have been separated out somewhat so they could feed Rosa more cleanly and more safely. And if they had any intentions of fleeing the ring, then they would have. But also, there's that awkward tug of war that happens between Rosa and Penelope Ford. The perfect time, quite frankly, for Megan Bayne to attack Rosa. I mean, she stood right there watching and bearing down on her, but Megan doesn't. As I say, she just stands there smirking. But then why would Penelope even grab the chair in the first place if the segment was planned that way? I mean, it makes absolutely no sense. It looks stupid. It makes Thunder Rosa look stupid, just handing the chair basically to Penelope. And then Thunder Rosa gets the chair back anyway. So it's clearly that wasn't part of anything agreed as far as I can tell, or in my opinion. If the segment was planned this way, I also doubt that Rosa would have thrown the chair, aka the equalizer. She's outnumbered 2-1 at the heels at the end of the segment. She's basically giving Megan and Penelope 2-1 the weapon to attack her with. So I figure Rosa just threw the chair out of frustration with the segment and her opponents. So to summarise, the segment fell apart not because of Thunder Rosa whatsoever. I don't blame her at all in this. Everything she was doing, I think she was doing correctly. But it's either because of stunning incompetence by the heels to not understand the basic tenets of professional wrestling and how to react, whether they were given directions in the back or not, how to react to a run-in with someone with a swinging a steel chair, or, and dare I say this is probably more likely, in my opinion, that maybe the heels went into business for themselves at the expense of Thunder Rosa. I mean, I'm sort of, dare I say, I'm leaning towards that with all the evidence, with watching the video back and forth 50 times, I'm sort of coming to that conclusion now. So let me know what you think in the comments. I really do want to know what you think about this, and also like and subscribe and all that kind of jazz, and I will see you for the next video.